Thank you so much, Tim, for your warm words, but thank you also for your great work here as MP. I want to thank as well our colleagues from the region, Bardish, Valerie, and Brian, and also highlight Barry's presence. Mayor Urbanovic, it's great to see you again. We've worked together for many, many years. I'm glad to have you as part of this announcement because it really is important that all orders of government work together in constructive ways. I think we've managed to demonstrate that over the past years many times in many ways, but there's a lot more to do as always. And that was something that we talked about when I sat down with Sean and Carolyn and Ian and Aline and their kids to talk about the challenges they're facing as communities. Obviously, Sean and Carolyn have a beautiful home here that they bought a number of years ago, but there's a recognition that as families look to get into the housing market right now, it's getting more and more difficult, and even as families save up and work hard, every passing year seems to get housing further and further away from them. And that's one of the big challenges around affordability that we're focused on with Budget 2022. And that's very much what I want to talk about today. We know that housing is a real challenge, not just here in Kitchener, but right across the country. And that's where we need to work together to solve it. We need to work together, different orders of government. We need to make sure we're there to support families because getting a house into a home, building a strong future for yourselves, for your kids, should be something accessible to all families across this country. And more, it's just not. But we also know it's a complex problem without having any one simple solution, and that's why we're moving forward and have been over the past years with many different programs and approaches that are tailored to meet different needs across the country. In Budget 2022, we're focused on three main pillars. On a trois piliers de notre approche pour lutter contre la crise du logement. On va augmenter l'offre en travaillant en partenariat avec les municipalités. On va augmenter la capacité d'épargner pour les familles avec un nouveau compte d'épargne pour l'achat d'une première propriété. Et on va contrer les pratiques spéculatives injustes qui rendent ça extrêmement difficile pour les familles de rentrer dans le marché ces jours-ci. We're focused on three pillars: supply, savings, and cutting down on speculation. Around supply, we're going to work, as we have been, with partners like in municipalities to move forward on the Housing Accelerator Fund. And what this is $4 billion designed to help cities and towns right across the country increase the supply of housing, whether it's issues around permits or zoning, whether it's land use studies, whether it's just accelerating incentives for construction. These are the kinds of things we're going to be working on with the cities because we know we need to double the new housing starts in this country over the next 10 years, and that's what this plan is going to do. We're also going to continue with an extremely successful program called the Rapid Housing Initiative that has allowed for thousands upon thousands of new homes and new properties to be built over the past couple of years that will allow for thousands more very rapidly to ease off on some of the pressures that families are facing. We're also going to support with savings. And the big vehicle for that in Budget 2022 is a $40,000 tax-free savings account for the purchase of a first home. And this account is tax-free on the way in and tax-free on the way out as you buy your first home. So this is going to help incentivize and support families as they save up for that first down payment. There's also other measures that we've put in over the years that'll be there to help people save, but we know that saving up for that first home is really important. The third pillar is recognizing that even if there's a house there, even if you've saved up for it, there are unfair practices in the real estate market that we need to push back on. First of all, far too many homes in this country are being bought by foreign investors looking at housing as an asset class as opposed to a place to raise a family, and that's something we need to crack down on. So we're going to ban foreign buyers in homes for the next 2 years to make sure that Canadians have an opportunity to buy their homes and not see homes prices driven up as asset classes. Other thing we're going to do is make sure we're standing up for home buyers. The Home Buyers Bill of Rights and a crackdown on unfair practices like blind bidding and others that just make it so difficult and heart-wrenching as people are trying to find their first home. These are all measures that are concretely move forward over the coming years in easing the pressures on families and giving people an opportunity to be confident, not just about their future, but about their kids' future as well. And that's something we talked about a lot as we were talking about climate change, we were talking about the various pressures on families, the challenges of inflation and the cost of living, while at the same time looking at how lucky we are in Canada that we were there for each other as much as we were through this pandemic. As we come out of it, we have an opportunity to build stronger, more resilient communities, and that's exactly what we're focused on with Budget 2022 and with everything we're doing. Alors, c'est un grand plaisir d'être ici aujourd'hui pour partager tout ce qu'on est en train de faire au niveau du coût de la vie, qui est l'emphase de ce budget, mais on a bien du travail à faire que nous allons faire ensemble dans les années à venir. Speaking of working together, very happy now to pass it over to my friend Mayor Banovic for his words. Thank you, Barry, for everything you do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you back here to Waterloo Region and to the City of Kitchener again today. And I do want to acknowledge that Chair Redmond would have very much liked to have been here, but unfortunately wasn't able to rearrange her schedule ahead of today's meeting. I'm really pleased to welcome you back here. We've had you here on many other occasions. We've had you here for the keg tapping of Oktoberfest. We've had you here at Communitech and at Vidyard and at Google at different points in time. But today we're here for something that really matters to Kitchener residents from across all walks of life. In fact, for Canadians from coast to coast to coast. And that's the issue of affordable housing along the full housing continuum. But before I talk about that, I really want to just give a shout out to your team, the government MPs who are here with you. Brian May, Bardish Chagger, Valerie Bradford, and of course the host MP, Tim Lewis. Prime Minister, our area could not be better represented by a wonderful team. And over the past couple of years, the support that municipalities like Kitchener and the region of Waterloo have had with COVID-19, the Safe Restart funding and so on, has been extremely important. And I really just want to say the team here have been rock stars, and thank you to you and all of them. If I can just maybe say a few words about the relationship that cities like Kitchener and the region of Waterloo have had with the Government of Canada over the past number of years, together with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. We've been able to achieve a great deal. And in fact, it was in your first term as Prime Minister that we were able to that the government was able to deliver on the National Housing Strategy, something that cities like Kitchener were calling for many years. And in addition to that, we were also calling for a program like the Rapid Housing Initiative. And sure enough, in the second term, the shared goal of the Rapid Housing Initiative, focused around eliminating homelessness over a number of years, was a program that your government listened to cities about and, in fact, created the program and created thousands of units across Canada. This initiative is, in fact, changing lives in the city of Kitchener and throughout Waterloo region. Just a couple of examples. For example, Indigenous families and individuals will be moving into 30 units that are being built by the KW Urban Native Wigwam project in Cambridge. And we'll see women moving into over 40 units at the YW partnership in the city of Kitchener that's happening. All of this is happening through the Rapid Housing Initiative. Budget 2022 once again listened to the voices of cities and communities, and we're very appreciative as cities of the many investments that the federal government has made with respect to housing. And as cities and communities, we're ready to roll up our sleeves in order to get that money flowing and making a difference in the lives of peoples in our community. So when the next phase of Rapid Housing Initiative funding starts flowing, we'll be ready, as we were in the first two phases, to get those units built. And we're certainly ready to work together with the federal government and the $4 billion in the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund with the goal of building 100,000 new units in the next 5 years. Prime Minister, you were absolutely right when you said Canada and Canadians are best served when the orders of government work together on behalf of Canadians. I think we've demonstrated that over the last number of years, and I can tell you as one city and one region, I'm ready with my colleagues to roll up our sleeves in the cities, townships, in the region here to work together with you and make a difference for our future. And I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. We now have time for questions from the media. On a maintenant du temps pour les questions des médias. We have one question, one follow-up for each reporter. Please identify your outlet and your name. Thank you. We can start with the first question.
Hi, this is Hala with CBC. I'm just wondering, will the heavy artillery you announced yesterday come from the Canadian Army inventory? Will you provide ammunition, and will that be guided ammunition as well? And when will you commit to replace these and other weapons taken from Canadian inventories? In English and French, please.
From the very beginning of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, and indeed in the weeks before, we've been there for Ukraine. We've been sending lethal and non-lethal military assistance. We've been there for humanitarian support, significant financial support for the people and the government of Ukraine, as well as they deal with this unconscionable, illegal invasion by Russia. We have every step of the way responded to the requests and the specific asks of the Ukrainian government, of President Zelensky, with whom I speak regularly, and their most recent ask was exactly for that, for heavy artillery. For reasons of operational security, I can't go into the details at this point on how and what we're getting to them exactly, but I can assure you we will have more to say in the coming days as we deliver what they actually need to be able to continue not just to defend their own homeland against this illegal Russian invasion, but to defend the very values and principles that we hold dear in Canada and around the world as free and open democracies. Dès le début de ce conflit en Ukraine, avec l'invasion illégale de la Russie, nous avons été là pour les gens de l'Ukraine, avec de l'aide militaire, y compris avec des armes. Nous sommes là pour de l'aide financière, de l'aide humanitaire, et on va continuer de l'aide tout en mettant des sanctions sans précédent sur l'économie russe et sur les leaders russes, dont Vladimir Poutine. Nous allons continuer d'être là pour répondre aux besoins et aux demandes de nos amis ukrainiens, du président Zelensky, qui demande de l'artillerie lourde maintenant, et le Canada va envoyer. Je ne peux pas partager les détails de ce qu'on va faire pour des raisons de sécurité opérationnelle, mais je peux vous rassurer qu'on va s'en parler dans les jours à venir, une fois que tout sera en sécurité et livré. Mais sachez qu'on va continuer toujours d'être là pour livrer ce dont les Ukrainiens ont besoin, parce qu'ils sont en train de lutter pas seulement pour leur souveraineté, leur territoire, leur langue, leur culture, leur famille, sont aussi en train de lutter pour défendre nos valeurs en tant que démocratie libre et ouverte.
And just a quick follow-up, do you have any idea when these weapons or others taken from Canadian inventories will be replaced?
The ability of Canada to contribute fully to NATO is one that is extremely important for us, and every step of the way as we support Ukraine, including with military equipment and munitions, we are also making sure that Canada continues to have the capacity to operate, not just to defend Canada, but to participate fully in NATO operations as well.
Okay. Next question.
Hi, Prime Minister. I'm Stephanie with CTV Kitchener. So Russia has claimed that there are Canadians fighting in Mariupol right now. Is the Canadian government aware of any Canadians fighting for Ukraine there? And will there be any assistance given if they are captured?
We know that Canadians feel very strongly about supporting people in Ukraine. Across the country, people have been opening up their homes, their communities to support Ukrainians either fleeing war or supporting them through donations and through delivery of equipment and supports. We also know that a number of Canadians have chosen to go and fight alongside Ukrainians, either because of their own Ukrainian heritage or because they want to help stand up for democracy against this illegal Russian invasion. There are no active forces being deployed by Canada in Ukraine, obviously, but there are certainly individual citizens who've chosen to contribute. We will always be there to try and help Canadians, but what we said from the very beginning was Canadians should be leaving Ukraine because we're going to be very limited in our capacity to help them if things go wrong.
Follow-up?
Yeah, it's similar to the question that my friend just asked you, but a member of the Ukrainian parliament tweeted this morning saying they're now starting to receive delivery of heavy artillery from Western countries. When should Canadians expect that the heavy artillery Canada is sending to arrive in Ukraine?
I think people understand that delivery of military equipment in the context of an illegal war by Russia is something that we have to be a little bit careful about what we broadcast and publicize and what we're doing. But in the coming days, I certainly hope to be able to share more about what is being sent and what was sent. But I can reassure Canadians that we are directly responding to the top requests that the Ukrainians have given for assistance in this current phase of the war, which is a redoubled efforts by Russia to take Donbass, and therefore there is very specific equipment that Ukrainians need, and Canadians can be comfortable that their government is there to support Ukrainians with what they need.
Next question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Jeff Outhit from the Waterloo Region Record. I want to return to housing for a second here. My son, 25 years old, still lives at home with us, college grad, good paying job. He laughs off the idea that he'll ever own a house, a detached house like the one he lives in now, that we were able to afford 25 years ago. He just thinks it's a joke, the housing prices are ridiculous, there's no way he's ever going to be able to afford the kind of mortgage it would take, cripple him for life. So I want to ask your thoughts on that, those, people starting out in their 20s and early 30s. What do you say to them? Do you say give up on detached ownership and go for something smaller and it's a dream that's dead? You're never going to get there? Let me ask how you feel about it.
Obviously, I've heard from Canadians like your son across the country who are really worried about the housing market, who wonder whether or not they'll ever be able to afford a home. One of the challenges we're facing in Canada is our population with immigration and other things has been growing over the past years, and housing construction hasn't kept up. Which is a real problem. And that's why one of the initiatives we're working on, $4 billion towards municipalities in order to double the construction of new housing over the coming years. This is something that is going to help. Whether it's enough or directly going to be helping your son, we'll have to see, because there's not just one program that's going to help anyone. There's going to be a range of programs, from programs of renting to own that we've launched as well in this budget, from programs that are helping the first-time home buyers with increased incentives and reduction in their mortgage costs. Initiatives to build greater density, particularly around public transit, that are going to allow people to get into the housing market with their first starter condo, starter home. These are the kinds of things that get people's toes in the door. We know that young people need to be able to build the stable base with which they want to start a family, give their future kids the kinds of opportunities that their parents worked hard to give them. And that's what this budget and this focus of the government is on right now. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a number of years, and anyone who's promising that they have a quick fix for it is not being straight with Canadians. It's going to take all of us working together to curb foreign speculation, to make sure the market is fairer, to create more housing units and offer, and to support families being able to save up to do that. And that's very much what we're focused on.
Thank you, Prime Minister. One follow-up question, different topic. We do not currently have a member of Parliament in this region in Cabinet, with the departure of Bardish Jagger from Cabinet recently. Why is that, and will your government rectify that? Important area, and we've had cabinet membership for many years.
We continue to have an amazing team of strong MPs and ministers from across the country who are focused on this region, on the growing challenges and opportunities in Southern Ontario, and I can assure you that all of us do a great job making sure we're speaking to and for all Canadians. But as always, we're looking to grow the teams in coming elections, and we're going to continue to stay connected with Canadians and build the kind of team that is responsive to what Canadians need.
Next question.
Morning, Prime Minister. Liam Casey with the Canadian Press. A major group of major group helping veterans transition network to get interpreters out of Afghanistan. They're winding down operations, you know, because they say there's bureaucratic cubes that are blocking efforts to get paperwork and causing this bottleneck. What do you have to say to the interpreters who risk their lives to help Canada and now feel abandoned by your government?
The situation in Afghanistan is heartbreaking. The taking over of that country by the Taliban has made it unbelievably difficult, not just for Canadians who served and sacrificed to build a better future for Afghans, but also to people who want to welcome people who've supported them to Canada. We have accepted and been able to draw to Canada well over 10,000 people fleeing Afghanistan. We are on our way to 40,000. The challenges we are facing, however, are very much linked to the difficulty of actually processing people from within Afghanistan because, as might be imagined, the Taliban are not exactly being helpful in terms of bringing people out of Afghanistan to Canada. We continue to work with partners in the region and with allies around the world because we remain committed to welcoming over 40,000 Afghan refugees, translators, people who've worked with Canadians, human rights defenders, while at the same time we continue to be committed to humanitarian support within Afghanistan to make sure that opportunities continue to be there for people who remain.
Thank you. On another topic, there have been several attacks of late in and around mosques. The Imam of Dar al-Tawhid in Mississauga, where there was a man with an axe and unleashed bear spray. They say that the federal government's dragging their feet on the federal security infrastructure program that would help them, you know, beef up security. They're wondering when that money will be coming so that they can get things like security guards and, you know, surveillance equipment to help their members.
Over the past number of years, we have continued to invest in the community infrastructure program for mosques and synagogues and vulnerable community centers, and we will continue to be there with supports. But it's a really big shame that we have to. Canada shouldn't be a place where we have to worry about fences and armed guards and video cameras and security systems in places of worship. Canada is one of those countries that does diversity and inclusivity better than just about any other country in the world. But over the past years, we've seen a rise in hate crimes, a rise in intolerance and racist acts. Part of it is the pandemic, sure, and the stress and the anxiety that comes from that. But a part of it is a trend towards greater polarization in our politics, greater intolerance in our communities, that the vast, vast majority of Canadians stand against. Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, anti-LGBT, all the discriminations that we see on the rise, anti-Asian racism through the pandemic, are absolutely unacceptable. And as a government, and quite frankly as Canadians, we will continue to stand together with vulnerable communities and demonstrate that there is no place for hatred and hateful acts in Canada, whether in real life or online. And we're going to continue to move forward to make sure that all Canadians are safe. And I look forward to sitting down with the Muslim community here in the Kitchener-Waterloo region later this afternoon to talk about the amazing things they're doing to contribute to the community while they celebrate the holy month of Ramadan.
Last question, please.